Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for subscribing. That means a lot to me. And now let's talk about jerkbaits and lipless crankbaits. Now the obvious thing you're going to get in most videos is a jerkbait works on highland reservoirs, the steeper bank lakes that have clear water, and a lipless is going to work on your flatter lakes, your lowland reservoirs that have a little more stain in the water, less visibility. And I want to explain to you why, and then I want to tell you how you can use these baits vice versa on the other lakes. So let's talk about why fish in clear water are typically caught on suspended baits. Alabama rigs, swim baits, jerk baits. It's not just because they can see them better. It is because those fish naturally move around a lot more in clear lakes. Bass, the nature of the animal in clear water, wants to suspend, wants to follow clear water. That is why if you are a great stained water, shallow water fisherman, and you go to a lake that has really clear water, you may catch some fish. You may be good with those baits that work on that lake, but you're gonna have trouble relocating those same bass a couple days later because those fish just move around a lot more than they do in stained water. You know, clear water fish are tough to catch because you never know where they're gonna go. They have a lot of range. They can swim and swim and swim. Now, a fish that's in dirty or stained water typically is going to stay down on the bottom, and they're typically not going to move around as much. They don't have, a lane to really swim in. They can't really see where they're going as well, so they just kind of stay put a lot better. So a jerkbait is great for that because you are fishing something slow, and you're keeping it right in front of their face. So if you have fish that are on the bottom and you're fishing a jig, you're keeping it right there. If they're biting or they're not, you're still keeping it right in front of them. That's the same thing with a jerkbait on suspended lakes or suspended fish on clear lakes. So the problem you're gonna run into this time of year when the water is cold, they're gonna bite in little windows. They might bite really good first hour, bite really good the last hour, but you have a lot of time where you may be right on the fish. You're seeing them on your graph, you know they're there, but you can't catch them. You still got to keep your bait right in front of their face. So a jerkbait on those clear lakes is so important on cloudy days because you know they're going to come off the bottom. Now, if you have sun, that's going to bring them down to the bottom. Then you're going to want to be fishing your bottom type baits. And the same thing goes for the grass or lowland reservoirs with a lipless crankbait. Now, those fish are on the bottom, so you're constantly making contact with the bottom with that lipless crankbait. If you're fishing a drain or a point or a flat next to a creek channel, whatever it may be, you're constantly hitting the grass, the rocks, whatever the bottom, the shell, whatever it may be, you're down there where those fish are at. But now how this can change is, let's say you are fishing a lowland lake. There's 2 feet of visibility typically, and then the water gets really clear. Well, you've been catching them on your swim jig or your lipless or your lipless crankbait, whatever it may be, and that water really clears up. That's when you can bring that jerkbait in and catch those fish on a lowland reservoir. And that's the same thing on the highland reservoir. Let's say you've been catching them really good on the bottom with a jig on sunny days, and then once you have clouds, those fish suspend and you can catch them on a jerkbait. And both of those bites fizzle off. The conditions are right for the jerkbait and you're not catching them, or the conditions are right for the jig and you're not catching them. That's when you can bring that lipless crankbait in, because typically what has happened is those fish have just seen too many of those baits. You bring that lipless in and you can fish it like you would normally, where you're making some contact with the bottom and you're bringing it up. You're hitting, the bottom, and you're just kind of bringing it down the side of the 45-degree bank. Something like that, where it's just a different fall, a different silhouette in the water, can be all the difference. You may be on the winning fish and not know it. And the guy next to you wins the tournament and he's just fishing something completely different. He's fishing a lipless crankbait or something that is going through the water column, hitting the bottom, coming up, and just getting those fish to react when they know not to bite a jerkbait, they know not to bite a jig. So those are those situations where most videos, you got to do this with this, you got to do that with this. No, you can change it up after you've went through the whole lineup and nothing's working. That's when those other baits will work. And it's a conditional thing, it's a fishing pressure thing, but that is super important when you are trying to catch the fish that you were catching a few days ago and you got to change. So try that. Good luck to you guys, and I'll see you on the water.